This may bang. I'm going to take this off.
Go ahead. All right, guys. So today we are live with Jennifer. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I'm fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, this is so guys, for people that are watching right now, this is actually streaming to a couple different channels. It's on 2 YouTube channels, 2 Facebook channels, and then a couple of Facebook groups. But it's a little different. I normally don't share this kind of content on my regular YouTube channel, which is my prison consulting channel. But your story is such a excuse me, such a story of overcoming objections and objectivity and all these obstacles that life has to offer. So I think people that are potentially getting ready for man, that's something like some people that are getting ready for a prison sentence could identify with this, because they're overcoming something that they're not sure what's going to be next, and this is going to be the rest of your life, and you've been able to make it happen. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for doing that. And I hope that my story can help someone and, inspire or just help them overcome something that they're about to face or that they've already gone through.
Well, it's crazy. Is my audio going in and out? How's that? Good. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's crazy looking at you, because for people that don't know, I'm talking to a blind person right now who you don't look like you were blind. And when I met you, what was it, last week at the business card function, I saw you with your walking stick, and I was like, is she blind, or is this like a dress up day? What's going on? Because you were getting around just fine, but I did see kind of when you were reaching for like the microphone and stuff, there was a little oddness there. That's why I eventually asked you. I said, are you blind?
Yeah.
So tell us.
So I'm not totally blind. I have some vision in my right eye. And if I have good lighting, I have fairly decent vision. I have almost no vision in my left eye. It's basically like if you have, like if you're holding a donut in front of you, my vision is the donut itself. So nothing around the donut and nothing in the center of my left eye. And then the right eye is like if you put Vaseline over your sunglasses and then just, try to look through the Vaseline, that's what my vision is like in good light. But in poor lighting, I have no vision at all. So that day that we met, that was really poor lighting, and I really couldn't see anything. I could see some of the, the white from the table, like the plates and things like that. And I could see the lights and I could see some shapes, but that was really all I could see. I couldn't see you until we got to the front of the restaurant and we were walking out, and then the light hit us, and then I could actually see you, but you were still just smudgy. You were still fuzzy.
That's how most people describe me. Anyway.
Right. Right. But yeah, so I had my white cane that day because my guide dog he'll be 13 in December. So he's 12, a little over 12 and a half right now. He's ready to retire, and he can't manage crowds anymore. He's an old grumpy man. Luckily you've got a soft floor, and this will keep him happy for a while, but he just can't handle it anymore. So I generally go out with a sighted guide, which I had my friend Heather with me, and she was guiding me. I was holding her arm and she was guiding me around, and a couple other people took me and moved me around the room to meet people, things like that.
Right.
But I had my white cane that day. Yeah.
Do you eventually, and we're going to talk about, because you weren't always blind. You were living well, not that you're not living a productive life now, but a different type of productive life. Have you adjusted to the sound of people's voices and who they are? Like when somebody talks to you in a group of people, are you easily able to identify who that person is?
So if I know you well enough and I've gotten to know your voice, then I will. People that I see that I don't see as often, then I don't, I can't remember their voices unless it's a really, unique voice. Another thing that I notice is the people's shapes, like the shape of your body, the way you move, like everybody has a really distinctive walk. And so I notice that. And if I get to know you well enough, I'll notice, I'll recognize you by that. So that's why some people can walk up to me in situations and I'll know them as they're coming. But it's only because I know their shape well enough. I know their walk, and I know that's who that person is. Every once in a while I've gotten, confused or messed up, and I'm like, hey, John, it's like it's somebody else completely, but usually if I know you well enough, I can figure that kind of stuff out.
Yeah. I can't remember the young lady's name that was sitting next to me. She wasn't right next to me. She's like 2 over at the table, and she said, hey, Jennifer. And she said her name, and you weren't sure. You're like, oh, I know 2 people with that name.
Tell me more about you. Like, give me a last name, or like in those networking things, tell me the company that you work with, and then I can put it all together usually. Because I usually will remember you, especially if I've met you a couple of times. If you'll say, it's Dan with YouTube or something, I'm going to know that. I'll know it's you from then on out.
Prison Dan.
That's right.
Jared, pull up just the screen that we're looking at right now, just so we can kind of see, because these are all somewhat recent pictures. We've got a picture of, in case you can't see it, there's one of you sitting at a table with a glass of wine, and Frank, who's the guide dog. For those of you that can't see, Frank's in the room right now. He's strolling around. So maybe we'll get Lauren to run around with one of the spare cameras and take some video of him. But then we've got a picture of you on the far right, where it looks like you're doing yoga on a pier with Frank.
Yes.
I just realized Frank's also. So, and also there's a pole dancing picture.
Yes.
Is that the proper term?
That's it. Yes.
Or
pole fitness.
Pole fitness. Okay. So you're not a stripper.
I'm not a stripper.
You're telling us.
I'm not a stripper. I'm not a 50-year-old blind stripper. No, I'm not. So I started doing pole fitness years ago before I lost my vision, and loved it, but I just couldn't go regularly. Work and life got in the way, and I guess I just didn't prioritize it. And then what was it? Well, January of 2020, a studio opened up downtown, right near my house and right near where I work, and my studio. And I met the owner, and I told her, I love pole fitness and wanted to, be a part of it. So she offered me a job. So I teach the flexibility classes there. I teach a lot of the flexibility classes, and then I take pole there. And it's just a level of fitness that I can't get anywhere else. You can't. I was describing it to one of my private yoga students yesterday. You can't half-ass it, basically. You can ease in. You take it slow so that you learn the form, what it's supposed to feel like, what it's supposed to look like. Don't hurt yourself, because you could hurt yourself fairly easily doing pole. But if you go to do a lift, you can't just decide to lift 3 pounds and pick up a light weight and do a lightweight curl. You have to lift your body weight. So it really builds strength that I've never had before. And
probably a lot of like core strength.
A lot of core, a lot of arm strength, and a lot of flexibility. Because if you're going to go into some of those beautiful, like, leg out or splits or anything like that, or anything on the floor where you're, rolling around, because we do floor work too, where you're rolling around and then coming up, it takes just incredible strength and flexibility. And, they ease you into it. Obviously with the classes, they ease you into it. You go through beginner pole and level 1, level 2, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's so much fun, and it makes me feel beautiful, and it makes me feel strong and powerful. And I absolutely love it.
Is there a big misconception with pole exercising where people think, oh, they're doing this so they can become better dancers like strip clubs?
We have those people at our studio. We do. We have people who are actual strippers.
Right.
And they come in so that they can be better strippers. And then we have housewives who just want to feel sexy, who want to give their husband a lap dance. We have that. And we have single people who just want to feel good, be strong. A lot of the people that come to the studio don't like going to the gym. They don't like the way, the gym atmosphere. They don't like the way they feel there. They're not it's boring to them, or it's too challenging or something. They all have their reasons, and they want a different type of fitness. And so they come to the studio for we have like the flexibility classes that I teach, which are floor classes. Then we have like chair dance classes. We have pole, we have lyra, we have silks, things like that. All kinds of different fun ways to get in shape that are not so they're not so boring or monotonous kind of things, which some people view. I love the gym, but some people view it that way, And
Garrett, let us know if anybody has any questions, or if there's any awesome comments. Make sure you highlight those comments. And then if anybody has any questions for Jennifer that's watching right now, I guess feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is one more question about, so what you're doing, helping out the stretching and the pole dancing classes. Is there men in these groups too, in these classes?
We do have some men.
Okay.
We don't have a lot. We have quite a few husbands that are in there, but then we also have like everybody that's in there.
Right.
Young, old, larger, smaller, any kind of person you can think of is in that class, but the majority are women.
And this class is, what's the name of the studio?
The studio is Bliss Fitness Studio. It's in downtown Melbourne.
Bliss Fitness Studio. So shout out to Bliss Fitness Studio, downtown Melbourne.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hope you all are watching. Jennifer's here.
Yeah.
So we are now in 2022, and you said you just turned 50. You're getting ready to
I'm going to turn 50 in November.
November what?
November 3rd.
Okay.
Scorpio.
Okay, November 3rd. Coming up on you. So happy 50. Is that over the hill? I guess not
for me.
Not in your case.
It used to be, but it's not for me.
You're still going uphill.
That's right. I'm still climbing that pole. I'm still doing everything that I can.
So what year did you lose your sight?
2009. So I was working as a paramedic in a level 2 trauma center here in Melbourne. And my vision just started to decline. And well, backing up, actually, it was when I moved here. I was a personal trainer, and I was a personal trainer for about 10 years. And at some point, my vision just started to decline. And I had RK, radial keratotomy, back when I was in my early 20s, which was the first LASIK surgery. And they told me that at some point, sometimes your corneas could go bad, and you might have to have a cornea replacement. So I was prepared for that. And then my vision started declining. I was like 20/20, and then it started getting a little like 20/30. And then I would go into the eye doctor, the ophthalmologist, and she couldn't get my vision any better than 20/30. And so she said, it's probably just your corneas from the RK. When you get insurance, because all I had was catastrophic coverage then, when you get good insurance, you can just have your corneas replaced. All right, no big deal. So a couple years later, she can't correct me past 20/40. So then I decided to become a paramedic, go through paramedic school, do the ambulance for a little while. Didn't like that. I really enjoyed my time as a student in the emergency department. So I worked really hard to get a job at the emergency department. It's not easy at all. And that's a whole different story of how I got that, which was kind of overcoming an obstacle getting that. But I finally got that job, and I got good insurance. So I went to the cornea specialist, and he said, it's not your corneas, it's your retinas. So I went to the retina specialist, and that began my whole journey towards trying to figure out what's going on. So 7 retina specialists later, I ended up at Bascom Palmer in Miami, Florida, with the #1 retina specialist in the United States. And she couldn't figure out what was going on. So she tested me for everything. And when I came back, she did this huge panel of blood work, all these different just different, like what's it called? It's, like you do an EKG on your heart. It's on the eye itself. So that and a bunch of other things, and couldn't figure out what was going on. We knew that I had swelling in my maculas, and there was damage in my left ocular nerve, and they couldn't figure out why it was happening or anything. So we tried all sorts of experimental drug treatments and some traditional treatments, and they just made everything worse, and they made me really sick. So I eventually became legally blind. And in 2009, June of 2009, I had to resign my position at the emergency department. So I lost my job. That was horrible. It was horrible. I mean, I went from being, a paramedic. I mean, they make television shows about the life that I lived, ER,
right.
And that was my life. And I went from that to losing my driver's license, losing my job, and staying at home in an isolated neighborhood. The house I bought was great for a person who was sighted, but for a person who wasn't
and what
sighted,
does that mean?
There was no sidewalks. There was no bus. I was way off, in a neighborhood that was kind of on the edge of town. And
because you were completely functional. You
yeah.
get in your car, go drive, go for a run, go for a walk.
Yeah.
You're like Frogger. You can see cars coming. You can hop in between cars.
Yeah. And then now I couldn't. And it was horrible. I mean,
and the span of time from like being able to still get around to like, fuck, I can't see nothing anymore.
Right.
The
whole thing was about 10 years.
Okay.
So when I first started, and was still a personal trainer, and was going to the ophthalmologist or optometrist, and she couldn't fix my vision. That was about 10 years ish. So, but then it was a rapid decline towards the end, and just really it started interfering with my ability to do my job. And when I knew I had to quit was if IVs come in certain colors, and I can't remember. It's been a while. It's been since 2009 since I've done this, but one of them is light green and one of them is light blue.
Ooh.
And so I got to where I couldn't tell the difference. And I don't remember which it is, but let's say the light green one was the smaller one, and the light blue one was the bigger one. I meant to put a smaller one in somebody, and I put a bigger one in them.
Wow.
And I said, that's it. I can't do it anymore. I can't.
You become a danger, liability.
Yeah, I'm a danger
to individuals.
Yeah. So that was when I walked into my supervisor's office and said I need time off. And
they had no idea.
No, they knew. I told them.
Okay.
They knew. Yeah. And they kept checking in with me. Every once in a while you get somebody who was difficult to deal with. But most supervisors and everybody there were really helpful and tried to be supportive. And I would be honest if I couldn't see something right, or if I wasn't sure, I would be honest about that, because I mean, there are lots of people in there couldn't see good. They had
Right.
glasses on, they had readers and things like that.
And you didn't know how bad yours was going to get, and you were hoping it could be corrected.
Right, exactly. So I just kept shooting for that, and then I couldn't do it. So I took the time off, and it was just a really rapid decline, and that was when I was diagnosed legally blind. So then became, how do I do this? And it's strange because, I worked in the medical field, but I didn't know of any services in the area to support me and to train me and to help me learn how to live, which you would think I would have, or at least some of the social workers that I worked with would have, or something, or that I would have thought to look, or that one of my doctors would have said, call this organization, or we're calling to set you up right now, but nobody did. So for an entire year, I got no services. So I'm just living there in my home, listening to television, barely can use my computer. Now I had a big Mac computer, which is, the huge screen, maybe 2 feet long or something like that. So that helped, but I didn't know.
What about like basic things? Last night, my daughter, she wanted chicken wings. We were smoking chicken wings. So I decided to, cause I knew I was gonna be interviewing you today, and I was just bored while we were doing stuff. And I went outside for quite a while, and I was staring up towards the sun. And then I went in the house and I put my sunglasses on, and I started to go get like some of the spices and stuff, and I couldn't see what they were. And it was like, I could see like the shapes of the bottles, and I'm holding them like an inch from my face. And I'm like, fuck, is this like, what was that like, just getting around day to day in your house, in your kitchen, cooking, getting up?
Yeah. It was like that. I got to where I started putting everything in the same place. So I just started organizing things. Now I had just gotten married at this time too. So I'd only been married less than a year when I became legally blind. And so had to get help from my husband. Well, he decided that he didn't want to do this. He didn't want to be married to a visually impaired woman. So he started doing everything, bad husbands do. And so asking him for help became more trouble than it was worth. And this was before, when we had a lot of cameras on our phones and things like that, where I could just take a picture of something and then zoom it in. My phone didn't have that. It was still like a little keyboard, little slide up thing, and
little sidekick,
something like that. Yeah. I don't even remember, but yeah, it was like that. And so it was hard, I couldn't, and then, with him not being helpful, trying to put things back in the same place. And it was really difficult. And I had a hard time. I was never like a really good meat cooker anyway, but forget that. That went out the window because I couldn't tell temperature.
It's either over well done or still mooing.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, it was challenging. And so I started where I can't remember exactly the timeline, but, I was going through the 5 stages of grief, no doubt. And it was hard to go out in public. A lot of my friends were not sympathetic to my needs. They were embarrassed, because I had to walk on somebody's arm. And this is before I had a cane or anything.
Was it hard to, because I know, like, knowing you now, I'm only meeting you. And it was funny. We met the first day we met, within minutes, found out that you live like literally walking. You walked here with your puppy. Well, puppy, I say puppy. I call every dog a puppy. So with Frank.
Yeah.
So you're right down the street. And when you found out you live so close, it was like you had no problem getting a ride from me. So have you adjusted to how you deal with strangers?
Yes. So for one thing, I wouldn't have just done that if I just met you out. But we were at a networking event. Other people knew you. There were plenty of witnesses. So if you were going to kill me, everybody would know you did it. Right. so and then I had everybody was texting me to make sure you got home.
Did you get home?
Yes.
So serial murders, a message. If you're going to pick people up to kill them, don't do it at a function. Go to a strange place.
Exactly. Because I've had that happen where I was standing at a bus stop.
I'll give you a ride.
And somebody pulls up and they're like, Jen, you need a ride? And I'm like, I don't know if this person actually knows me or if they've just seen me on social media or in the newspaper or something.
You got to be skeptical.
And I'm like, so who are you? Who are you? And then it's like, it's Larry. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Or something like that.
How did it feel? I sent my daughter out to greet you.
Okay. So my husband actually drove me up because he happened to be home today.
Okay.
So today he dropped me off on his way out.
Gotcha.
So, so I'm pulling in and I see a body at the, like a human being at the corner. And I'm like, It's gotta be Dan. And so I'm like waving, hey, Dan. And then he's like, that was a woman. And I'm like, God,
Lauren, was that the person you said was waving to you before? Oh, okay, different person. Okay, because I sent her out a little bit before that in case you were walking. I was like,
I
Lauren,
see.
go walk with her.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I pictured it's got to be weird. Some lady like, hi,
Yeah.
you're Jen. I'm Lauren.
But if she would have come up and just told me what she was doing, then I would have
Right.
totally understood.
Right.
But no, so it's interesting because through this whole journey, I started my spiritual development. I was always Christian, but that wasn't really working for me at this time, even though I'm still, Jesus is my homeboy, but that wasn't working for me at the time, And he's one of my favorite teachers. I still use him, but I became Buddhist for a while and kind of let go of all of that and just went into the Buddhist practice, which technically, if you know anything about Buddhism, it's not a religion. It's a practice. But I gave up everything else and just started that practice and let go of the Christian belief for a while, which actually helped me. It helped me to find my sin, and it helped me to get my diagnosis. So I was having a Buddhist meeting or a what do you say? It's a tozo. It's like you have to get together and chant and things like that at my house. And this Buddhist lady came and said she had all these strange signs and symptoms, and her cousin had celiac disease and thought, maybe you have celiac. So she went and got tested, and sure enough, she had celiac. And she said, you should go get tested. So I went and got tested, and I had celiac. So I went off of gluten, and the degeneration stopped.
So for people that don't know what that is, tell people.
It's the autoimmune reaction to gluten. So, wheat, barley, rye, the protein in wheat, barley, and rye. And so it attacked my retinas. So if you have celiac disease and you eat gluten, it will trigger your autoimmune system, and your autoimmune system will go on attack, but it can't figure out what it's attacking. So it attacks your body. And it starts out generally attacking the digestive system. And then it moves on to other areas like usually connective tissue, skin, joints, things like that. It will attack organs. It will attack the liver, the pancreas. It will attack the nervous system for sure. So a lot of people, they now know that were diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar just had celiac disease. They went off of gluten, and now they're no longer bipolar or schizophrenic. So for me, it attacked my retinas, and come to find out it's because my retina is, our retinas are the most vascular part of our body. And so anything that's bloodborne or, manifests in the blood can attack the retinas. So that's what it did. And it attacked my retinas. It caused the inflammation, the swelling, and everything like that. So I went off of gluten, and the degeneration stopped.
I was going to ask you, so it's no longer if you would have found this a few years before, I mean, you might have still been, not 2020, but maintaining.
But now, because of me, my doctor now tests everybody for celiac disease, and she's discovered quite a few more people who have issues with their eyes because of celiac. It causes uveitis a lot, and I haven't talked to her about it in years, so I don't know what all she's discovered since then, but she did tell me that she's testing everyone.
Is there a home kit people can get that don't have like insurance or doctors?
Okay. I don't think so. I think unless it's changed, and like I say, I haven't done this for a while, but I believe you have to go in for the blood test. Now you got to load, so you got to eat gluten, and you got to eat a lot of it. For at least, I ate for 3 days. I had crackers. I had beer, pizza, cake. I had, and then I carried.
Sounds like my daily diet. Right
I know, it's what I used to eat. But, and then I had saltine crackers, and I ate crackers every hour or two. I just bite a cracker for 3 days. And I literally, my face was swollen and everything. And so I went into the blood test, and it showed a high positive. Now, for me, they called it as a diagnosis right then because I had already been tested so much in the past for everything else. So what they would do with a normal person is you do your blood test first, and then you go in and do the endoscope, and they take a little piece of your small intestine and they test it. And that's diagnostic. It may have changed. That's all I know from, a couple years ago. But
so was it more like, was it a new thing, or was it pretty common? Were there a lot of people out there that had lost their eyesight that was due to that were aware of it?
No, my doctor said that she could only find 7 people in the world that were diagnosed losing their eyesight from celiac disease or gluten or something like that. So I don't know what it is now. Like I said, I haven't talked to her in years. But yeah, it's unusual.
Yeah, because I told you, Shelly, my girlfriend, has been going to the eye doctor because she's slowly, like, her vision's getting worse, and they're doing all kinds of tests and can't figure it out. And now that you told her this, last night when we got food, she's like looking at the ingredients on everything, and she won't touch anything with gluten in it right now until she gets a full diagnosis done.
Well, what I tell people, and just being, a yoga teacher and a personal trainer into health and wellness,
gluten sucks in general.
Well, some people can do it and it's just fine. It doesn't hurt them. But if something's going on and you don't know what it is and you're not feeling good for whatever reason, go off inflammatories. No gluten, no dairy, no nightshades, no soy.
What are
And
nightshades?
nightshades are white potatoes, tomatoes, what do you call it? Eggplant, things like that. And I Googled this recently because somebody asked me that, but it's like a chemical it's a chemical that's inside those plants
Right.
that triggers the autoimmune system.
Okay.
And I think there's, like some people can't do heavy meats like beef and pork. I stay away from those in general because they're a little hard on my system. But that's why I tell people, if you got something going on, you can't figure it out, or you don't feel good, you don't have energy, you have body aches, you have anything, just go off of those and then see how you feel after that. And then you can try adding one in and see how you feel when you do that. And then it may give you some more clues without having to go to the doctor.
And it's probably somewhat good general advice that if your body's not feeling too well, try cleaning up your diet in general, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't hurt anything.
Yeah.
So you went from being a paramedic to doing all of
Mhm.
these. Now, what is life for you today? What's a day to day? Like, what are you doing for work? What are you doing for fun? What are you doing for hobbies? What are your limits?
So for work, I teach yoga, and I'm a licensed massage therapist and specialize in deep tissue, prenatal, Thai yoga massage, and abdominal massage. That's my work. And for fun, I do anything that I possibly can. I love to travel. My friend, she's a Norwegian and she travels. She's in the Norwegian military, and wherever she goes, I go visit her and fly over and stay with her for like 15 days or something like that. And we travel around, and then she comes to visit me. And then, I try to go anywhere that I can. So I just my last trip was St. Thomas, where I actually eloped.
Do we have pictures of this on any of your Instagrams?
I don't have any. I had some pictures. Yeah, there's some pictures of St. Thomas on my Instagram and on my Facebook page.
Flip her Instagram.
Yeah. And then I was supposed to go visit my friend in Europe May of 2020, but we know how that went down. So we haven't even been able to see each other for a couple of years. And so traveling is great. I did go skydiving for my 40th birthday. I would totally do it again. I love to hike. A year or so ago, I went to Sedona and hiked all over. We hiked for like 5 to 6 hours a day.
Garrett, go to the picture that's right underneath the mimosa. Yeah, right there. So this picture is, as soon as it pulls up here.
Okay, that's at the pole studio.
Party at Bliss.
So that was a posing event. So you can learn how to pose in pictures and stuff like that.
Posing event. Okay.
A posing event. Yeah. If you got to scroll back into when was I there? June.
Hit the back button.
So go up. You'll see a video of me like standing in a hotel room window. And then there's some pictures of us just kind of being around the resort and sailing. I love to go kayaking, stand up paddle boarding. I love snorkeling. Oh my God, I love snorkeling.
So paddle boarding is that, I mean, you can't see where you're going.
No, I can't. But the good thing is like, there's usually not obstacles in the water. And so that's really good. And I go with someone, who kind of keeps me directed. If I do have to worry about sometimes it being a little shallow, and sometimes you have to worry about the fin hitting something.
Right.
So the person that I'm with, my sighted guide, their job is to keep me from running into anything. But I've got good enough vision.
Yeah. I mean, all of these photos, it looks like you're getting around just fine.
Yeah. The only issue is transportation. I can't drive. So I'm, relying on other people. And,
now, Space Coast, what is it? Space Coast Magazine? Is that what it's called?
Oh, wait,
go to the third link, Jarrett. Right, all the way to the top. There you go. And there we go. So this is Space Coast Living. I'm sorry. Space Coast Living did a pretty good article on you.
Is that the picture of me on the pole? It's dark. I can't really see
it. Yes. That's the
one
of you on the pole.
They did a really good job.
They did a really good article on you. They provided a lot of information to what you went through, what the disease is like. Do they use your story as like a case study for others?
You mean like my eye doctor?
Yeah, like with what you went through, really trying to diagnose others. I mean, are other eye doctors, do they communicate?
So.
Yes,
I think, especially since my doctor is one of the leading specialists in the world and in the United States, I would guess so. I think, she's spread that information around. I'm not really exactly sure how she did it, but she did tell me that she did talk about it at an event somewhere at one time. But like I said, it's been years since I've really talked to her about it. The last time I saw her, it was just in and out real quick, just to do a quick eye check.
How much has your communication changed as far as because you can't really afford to be passive or shy. Like if you're out somewhere, you need to be pretty assertive, I imagine, with the situation.
Well, and here's the thing. I really need the people around me to be pretty assertive because I can't see necessarily what's going on around me. And what has been really weird is how people respond to me. And they either ignore, there's three things. They ignore me, or they respond really positively or really negatively. For example, I was at the Stephen Marley concert in Nance Park a few weeks ago, and I'm standing with a friend, and it's still daylight. And this girl walks up to me, and she seemed like a young woman, walked up to me and said, you just walk around with that cane, don't you? And I said, well, yeah, I'll walk around with a cane if I don't have my guide dog with me. Otherwise, I can't get around. And she said, no, but I mean, obviously you're not blind. So you walk around with that cane for attention. And I just looked at her and said, are you fucking kidding me? And she was just shocked. And then she just walked off. And now, see, that kind of stuff used to shock me because people used to do that to me all the time.
Right.
And it would shock me because I was mostly just surrounded by yoga teachers and love and light. Okay. And in the emergency room, I was used to that behavior all the time because that's how people behaved constantly. But I wasn't used to it and it would shock me. So I'm working on my balance now. I'll be nice to you, but as soon as you cross that line, I'm going to check you. And so she walked away, but then a little while later, the alcohol took effect and she came back and she was, I just want to apologize and crying and everything like that. But, that is hard for people to deal with. So my friend who's with me is very strong and assertive. And so she, we
was
just
that
laughed.
The friend I met?
No, my friend Darlene,
okay.
You didn't meet her. So she is very strong and assertive. And so we mentioned it a little bit like, God, can you believe that? And then we laughed it off and went on with our day.
But do you think it has, because prior to meeting you, when I would think of somebody blind, because the eyes usually change. Like
they actually don't. So that is, this is actually what blind looks like.
Okay.
So the majority of the people that I know look like me. And there are just a few people out there who have something up with their eyes. Like there are those people whose eyes go different directions. There are those people whose eyes change color. My eyes have changed color. They were a real dark hazel, and now people tell me they go back and forth between blue, green.
So what causes some people where the eye just all fogs over?
I have no idea. I'm guessing it's just
because my dog went blind and his eye now it's just it's like one solid color.
Was it because of cataracts? So cataracts.
I think so. Okay.
Yeah,
so
cataracts will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know why. Like if your eye's not working, like if you can't see, why that happens. I don't know. But most people just have normal eyes like me, and most people lose their vision as adults. So they're used to looking at you when you talk. This is what I've been told. If you're born blind, they train you to look at someone as they talk. They train, because otherwise you turn your ear to the person. Like I'll still do that. You say something, I'll still turn like that, but, most of the time, I'm going to look right at you. And if I can hear your voice, I'm going to try to look right at you. And, they all look like me, and there's just a few that don't. So this is really the more common. And I think that's why people don't recognize that they're looking at a visually impaired person, because we just look.
Do most visually impaired individuals embrace life at the capacity you have?
What I've been told is no.
Okay.
So my eye doctor at Bascom Palmer says no. She says, because when I came back and I went back to school and started telling her all the stuff I was doing and all the public speaking I was doing, that I was mentioning her, and the whole story. And I sent her a video of me giving a speech in Daytona where I was talking about her. It was to a bunch of eye doctors. And she's like, most people don't do this. Most people just cower and go hide in a corner and give up on life. And I understand why. For one thing is, that year that I went without any training, there was really nothing I could do. And everyone around me, not everyone, I still had some very good friends who were not bad, but most people around me were telling me, that I was the problem, that I just need to understand that nobody else understands, and that I'm making them uncomfortable. And so it's my job to not make them uncomfortable. And that's just not the case. And so when I discovered the Brevard Association for the Advancement of the Blind and the Center for the Visually Impaired, which is now the Conklin Davis Center for the Visually Impaired, and I started getting training, then I started meeting other visually impaired people. And then I started seeing everything they were going through, I was going through. And I started, working.
It's like a community.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
Right. And come to find out, like most of my friends have abandoned me. And that's what happened to them. And so everybody's trying to tell me it's me. Well, it's not me, it's you. And it was happening to everybody else. So just in that, it gives you peace and it gives you comfort. And I tell people, no matter what you're going through, I don't care what it is, find other people that have gone through it, because even the most kind, compassionate person who sticks by your side is not going to understand you.
Right.
You need someone who's going through it, and y'all can understand each other, and then you can support each other. And so that really made the difference.
And this is why I brought you on, not just the regular Melbourne channel, but the prison channel, because of what you what you just said. People that are going through the prison experience, sure, they've got their family that is supporting them and trying to understand it, but it's almost like having a pet that's going to be there by your side, but they haven't been there, they haven't gone through it, so there's not that same level of communication. And it's exactly what you just said, minus their situation is at some point going to be over and life will go back to normal. As your life for the rest of your life, this is as well, it will continue to get better, but as far as it'll never be what it used to be.
Right. Exactly. And that's why it's such a blessing that you started this. I mean, it made me think about it, like, God, what if this ever happened to me for, whatever reason, but, knowing that there's that resource out there, because I would think it would be terrifying. I had a friend who, very similar situation as yours, and she had to go to jail or prison for 12 months, 18 months. I don't remember. But I was with her the night before she went, and, it was like we were trying, but we just couldn't, we couldn't understand, but yeah, it's such a true blessing that you do
losslessness.
This. Yeah. Yeah.
And with what you're doing now, I have to imagine that it's like, kind of like how your doctor told you, most people that go through what you're going through, sure, they survive, but you're thriving.
So what happened was two things. When I started, I was blessed to be surrounded by these Buddhists who were encouraging and supportive, and like, you can overcome. That's the Buddhist philosophy: overcome. And then going into these organizations like BAB, and I met a few other people, and for me, I always say I've got more fire inside than outside. So I want to live life. I mean, I came here to be a human. I embodied to be a human and to have the human experience. And that does not involve sitting in my house all day, doing nothing.
Right.
And so I want to be a part of life. And so I started feeling the spark here and then there, and then wanting more, and then wanting more. And when you start getting that spark again, then you're lighting up over here, then all the darkness over here is not as appetizing. So then I want to start getting rid of it. So I start cutting people out, got a divorce, found a little house, a little apartment in downtown on the bus route and things like that. So I wanted that life. I just wanted it again. And because I had that taste of it before, of all that happiness and all that excitement, where you have those, generally most of us have, well, some of us don't, but we have a few years in our life where they're just like, it can't get any better than this. It just can't. This is it. I had those. And so I wanted some of that again. And it's never going to be like that again, but it can be different, and it can be just as good, but different. And so I wanted it. And the only way I could get it was to, cut out those people, stick with the people who are my rocks, who showed up, who never let me down, and, work on myself. I had to challenge everything that I thought. I had to challenge my feelings. I had to challenge my beliefs. And I had to, the challenge that I still have is the transportation and the freedom. And that's,
we're getting pretty close to self-driving cars,
Yeah, you know what? But are they going to require that you have to have a driver's license to have it? That's what they're saying right now, is that you still have to have a driver's license. I can't get a driver's license. So there's that, but maybe they won't one day. Maybe they'll think about people like me. But
do you take advantage like Uber and things like that often?
Sometimes, not often, because Uber just tends to, be a little expensive, and I just haven't. I have when I've had to, but I created a really great tribe of people. And so if I need something, if I need a ride, then I usually send out a group text. You know, I'll send out a blast and say, hey, something's come up. I need it.
Send
you
out
know,
the smoke signal.
exactly. Help me. You know, and so I do that. And then also, like I said, I just got married. And so my husband a lot of times works from home. And so he's able, like today, he was able to drive me up here on his way out, things
So
like
you
that.
you met your husband blind.
Yeah, we met on Match.
So he probably told you he's like 6'4".
Oh my gosh.
Rico. Yeah.
Our first date is so funny. So he took me to Dijon's, this restaurant down here, and we went inside to the piano bar, and it's dark in there. Now it was dark the whole time. Now I've seen him. I made him do a video chat with me first before I met him, and we did that, and I can see fairly well on with technology.
Right.
So with my iPad, my big 12-inch.
Yeah, I
iPad,
think you told me you see better with
Yes,
technology
I
than
do.
you do in real life.
Right. So I can actually know what you look at like just by taking your picture, like, but you're fuzzy right here, but I can see you clearly in a picture. So I did that, you know, and we chatted. And then, so anyways, we're at Dijon's and he brought me inside the piano bar and we're like having port and then the dancing to the piano. I don't know if you've ever been there. Have you been there?
No, I'm still new to the area.
It's so nice. It's so nice.
We'll have to go on a double date.
Yes, absolutely. It's wonderful. And so we're in there dancing and there's this group of women and I can hear them giggling and everything. And he's like, that group of women, they're watching us and they're just smiling and everything. And he turns to him and says, tell her how handsome I am. Tell her how handsome I am. And they're like, oh, he's handsome. I can hear her. He's so handsome and all that. So yeah, he did a little bit of that.
That's funny.
But it was funny. Yeah.
So you know what you just said actually made me think of something. So like VR technology is becoming really, really big, like going into VR universes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've done any research on this or not.
So one of the guys that I know, he's visually impaired. He's getting his PhD up at FIT in virtual reality for science majors.
Okay.
So to help visually impaired people a little more in the sciences. So he's doing that. Now I don't know that I've ever tried it.
Well, it's not at the level where it's going to be yet, but like there's a company called Earth.io. And it was a launch company a few years back. And what it was is basically it started off as like just a website where you could go in and buy virtual land based on the United States.
Heard of that.
Okay. So
Snoop Dogg is doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got a bunch of different companies doing it now. And Facebook is investing big into it. So you have like, let's say Melbourne, virtual land in Melbourne, you buy a plot of land virtually, which sounds crazy when you say it out loud, but this land goes up in property values, and then they're taking it to the next step where they're going to create an immersive level of reality where you put on your mask, you're basically living the life as an avatar, and with your vision seeing in virtual reality world where it's like AR, and you walk into a store and you want to buy something, you touch it, you buy it, and you have money in your account. There's going to be people that are that's why drone piloting right now is a big craze in learning in schools and job employment, because like Amazon delivery, pizza delivery, everything is going to be done by drones in the near future. So when you order a pizza, drones drop it off at your house, and there's going to be individuals in different hubs across the world wearing these VR type goggles. And I think there could be a point in your life where you're going to be able to experience. I mean, it's not going to be the same as getting out,
right?
But you're going to be able to experience things that you haven't been able to do in a long time. That's going to you'll have sensors on you, and it will feel more real than a lot of things that feel now.
So that's interesting, because when you were talking about it, I was thinking of jobs for the visually impaired.
Jobs too.
So like something that a visually impaired person could do for employment.
Yeah, they're talking about having like somebody, owning an art gallery at a not visually impaired, an art gallery in a VR type of a universe. And you have people working in the gallery, wearing their goggles, going into the gallery, showing people around, just like what you would see right now, walking into a gallery will be in a virtual world, which is very, very near to happening. I mean, it's so close that I don't think anybody really understands how crisp it is.
It makes me think of a video game, and I don't know if it's anything like that because I've never done it. And it's going
to feel like where you are right now.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe not in our immediate lifetime.
Yeah.
But like my daughter, and by the time she's in our age, 40, 50 years old, it's going to be a normal thing where she's like, I'm going to work today. And she goes home, puts on her goggles, and she's got it looks like a picture a treadmill. But instead of a treadmill that just goes one direction, it's a treadmill that it's slanted. It's looks like almost like a pit a little bit. So it's dipped in the middle, and it goes around the sides. I'm using my hands like you can see me.
I can see your movement.
So
you got
anywhere you can move, turn, walk, and it feels like you're moving and walking around, but you're in one space and you're in like in a harness almost that's connected to you. You can feel, you can smell, you can hear. And they're saying the sight of it is almost supposed to be as real as I'm looking at you right now.
That's interesting.
And
I wonder what kind of effect it will have though on our
oh, it's going to fuck people up.
Exactly.
It's going to fuck people up.
That's what I'm saying. See,
but it's coming. There's no avoiding it.
Because we have to, we have to interact. We have to touch each other. We have to.
But we're not doing it now. Look at kids in their cell phones, and they talk about antisocial people right now are afraid to call up and order a pizza because they can do Uber Eats. They don't have to talk to anybody.
Right.
There's
right.
It's not even about COVID anymore. They just they want the pizza dropped off outside so they don't have to comb their hair, get dressed, brush their teeth.
Mm-hmm.
It's already there.
I know some people who are they're YouTube stars in this area.
Yeah.
They make a lot, not you, but you actually interact with human beings. But they like I met them and they're like, because I was at a friend's house and her sister and they live, I guess, next door or something like that. And they came over and they're like, they never leave their house. they do everything, but yet they make tons of money off of YouTube, but they never leave their house and they didn't know how to have a conversation with another human being.
And then they chalk it up to some bullshit. Oh, I've got this.
Yeah.
I'm ADD and I have anxiety.
Right. Anxiety.
Social anxiety and the social pressures it creates a whole level of mental health issues.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid to go out in public.
And that's what yoga deals with.
Right.
That's one of the reasons that I went into yoga was because of the issues that being visually impaired caused me. The grief, the pain, the fear, all of that kind of stuff. In yoga, you learn how to use your breath, to calm yourself down. Anxiety, just calm yourself down. You can control that to a certain extent.
But it requires
effort,
practice, right?
Yeah.
You can't just like wake up and say, I want to control my anxiety. You got to trust in somebody like you to kind of coach them through it.
Exactly. You got to work on your thoughts. You got to work on your actions. So start by just working on your breath. Start influencing the breath, which will influence all the hormones in your body and which will influence your nervous system. So start doing that. Start practicing that in safe situations at home, and then start, adding it to situations where it causes you some anxiety or stress. Start using the breath then, and then, check your thoughts. Am I really in danger? Am I actually in danger? And things like that. So start challenging yourself and coming up with a replacement thought. Like I do that a lot.
Right.
When I think of, I'm a Scorpio, so I can ruminate. If I start to ruminate, then I have a replacement thought that comes in. If I start going back to that situation that was hurtful or this conversation or something like that, then I check it. I stop it as soon as I can. I try to catch it. And because at some point you'll realize you're doing it. And then as soon as you get it, you don't beat yourself up over it. You just, okay, I'm doing it. I'm going to replace my thought, and replace it with something else. You come up with, something that you're going to use. You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. You got to
have tools in your tool belt.
Absolutely.
And I imagine you have to know how to utilize the tools.
Yep.
And it's kind of like even going through like the whole prison thing. In prison, we learn all these life skills and these tools about overcoming, negative thoughts and how to avoid consequences, making better choices. But then the test is when you get out into the real world,
yep.
If things are tough, you lose your job, somebody breaks up with you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you react back to your old ways and get all pissed off and go hit the bottle or,
right.
Start snorting cocaine again?
Yep.
Or do you apply the tools that you learn? So I imagine it's learning them and then being able to use them in like a real life situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And starting out with something small so that you can test yourself.
Make your bed every day.
And then exactly. And then that's it. Yeah. And then go back and then say, okay, now how did I handle that situation? And really be honest. Don't blame somebody else.
Right.
Don't talk about what they did. Only what did they do? And then how did you respond? And how did you feel about it? And then challenge yourself and take the blame off of them. Even if they're wrong, you got to take the blame off of them and just think about you, because you're your only partner in this lifetime. Jennifer is my only partner in this lifetime that will be with me 24/7 for the rest of my life.
Right.
And so she's the only one I can influence.
Sorry, Frank.
And so I know, well, it's true, but I'm the only one I can influence. And so I can't control everybody else. I can only control me. And sometimes can't do that very well, but I work on it, but
that's in progress.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I want to ask Garrett a question. Let's go to Garrett. So you're nor blind nor deaf. You can see pretty good and you can hear pretty good. If you had to pick one, would you rather be blind or would you rather be deaf?
I'd probably be deaf.
How come?
Because I know sign language.
that's not a bad answer, I
Yeah.
guess. I asked the wrong fucking person.
Most people say that. Most people say they'd rather be deaf because if you're blind, you can't. You lose your ability to have independence. You know, you lose transportation. You can't drive anymore. You can't, especially for men. When I was working at BAB, they pair up women with women and men with men because for men, it's very emasculating. You know, you're used to having control of your environment. You want to be able to protect yourself, protect your loved ones, things like that. And you lose all of that. And now you're on someone else's arm and you're just, you know, at everyone's mercy.
I guess I think of it from my own perspective of I love doing YouTube and stuff like this. And if I was deaf, this would be really
you
be really hard to do.
You couldn't communicate, and that's another thing we talked about at BAB was we asked that question.
So do you have people that are deaf and blind in these groups?
Yes.
So you guys get to like share thoughts and processes?
Yes. And so like Joe Nolte, I know, and he is he's probably close to 90 now though. So, and he's not as strong as he was before when I first met him, but I could talk to him about it a lot. He's the only one that I know. No, that's not true. Melissa, she's another massage therapist. She's deafblind. And so how we communicate, like specifically when we go to dinner, I take my phone and I text message her and it comes up on her iPad and she brings her iPad with her. And so she holds her iPad up in front of her and I text her and she holds it right here at her face and she reads my text message. And that's how we communicate at dinner. And she taught me some sign language to do in her hand. And so I do that.
Like Braille almost?
Yeah, you know, like Helen Keller,
yes.
You know, like that.
Right.
And then I had this other friend who she's a CEO, executive director of a company in another state. And when she came to visit, she and I were just having conversations in our hands. You know, yeah, and it was so funny. You know,
wow, you guys would make great criminals because you could be
right?
in prison, like conspiring, and nobody would know it.
I know.
Like, look at these two lesbians holding hands. That's all they would think.
We're just
fooled them.
Yeah.
Lauren, you had a question?
I was just gonna ask about like how did they communicate?
Oh, so she just answered it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, are they like fully deaf and blind?
So Melissa is
Lauren just asked because she's not on the camera. She was asked the people in the group, are they fully deaf and blind?
They're not.
Okay.
No, they're not fully. They both have some hearing and some vision. I don't know personally anyone who is fully deaf. I've met people obviously that are, but I don't have anyone that's in my life that's fully deaf.
Do their voices change? Like, now some of these people that you've met, have they gone from being born like this to developing it like you kind of later in life?
So I want to say, I'm not sure about Joe. I know Melissa, I believe, has been visually impaired and partially deaf the majority of her life. Yeah.
And how does she try to speak?
Yes, she does speak. And sometimes she can't hear, she can't hear herself. So she sometimes talks too quiet because she tends to, I think we all kind of tend to talk too loud sometimes.
Right.
And so she would do that naturally. And so she gets to where she talks too low and then we have to say we can't hear her. So she does that. But her voice, she pronounces words just fine.
So there's no, okay.
No. Mm-mm.
For you, from when prior to now, has your hearing changed?
So
that must be a common question.
It is. So the thing about, they say, okay, well, other senses develop. It's not, it's kind of the case. What they did was they taught me how to pay attention to things. So when you hear footsteps, where are the footsteps coming from? What kind of shoe is the person wearing? Is it a Bigfoot? So is it a guy walking or is it a woman in heels walking? Things like that. How fast are they walking? Are they coming to me or are they passing by me? Things like that. And then what are some of the other things? So you feel feel temperature. So if you're close to something, things like that. We worked on echo development, which apparently humans are capable of doing echo.
I was telling, it was either my daughter or my girlfriend. I just watched a documentary on this guy, completely blind, or no, I'm sorry, completely deaf. I think it's deaf, and he would walk around like on a sidewalk, kind of going.
Oh, he's blind. Yeah.
Oh, blind.
Yeah. Because he's picking up the echo.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Echo. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
And he could actually like describe the items that were in front of him, like garbage cans, fire hydrants, like really in depth.
Yeah.
They did say his was his ability to do it is more than the average person. But
Mhm.
it was insane to watch this.
Yes,
I
and
thought
then
for sure this was a fake show. I'm like, there's no way this guy is
and he
blind.
rode a skateboard too, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yep.
know exactly who you're talking about.
Yep.
And then there's another guy that I read an article on who hikes with his guide dog. So he puts his guide dog on a rope. So the dog's in harness, and then the rope is maybe 3-4 feet in front of him, and they hike in the snow. I mean, like feet of snow, and he can listen and he can tell you where a peak is and how high it is and how far away it is and everything like that. It's incredible. I cannot do any of that.
It's absolutely incredibly insane, but it
Yeah.
also shows you what you're capable of
Some people, yeah.
I mean, and maybe his desire for it was stronger too, right?
I don't buy that because, I can have all the desire in the world for something and can't do it because I'm physically not capable of it. So, and I think that our minds are just the same as our physical bodies in a way.
There's limits.
I think there are limits, and I think that we all have gifts and we all have abilities. And I think if I, had a strong desire and really put my mind to it, I could develop some echo a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I could be as good as him. Maybe you could be. But the thing is I just have, we know that we're all so different.
Right.
Like I could want to be, a star in the NBA as bad as I want to. It will never happen.
Yeah.
I can desire it all day long, but it will never happen. And so I look at it kind of like that, but I don't tell anybody, don't try it.
Right.
Go for it.
And I guess what I meant is like you've chosen not to stay inside and become like a victim of this, oh, woe is me. Just like these other people, they have the same ambition to get out there and raise the limit, right?
Yeah.
Keep pushing and don't say, oh, just because somebody tells you can't do that doesn't mean maybe you're right, but I'm going to give it my best damn shot at it.
Yeah. And so with what I noticed with visually impaired people, it has a lot to do with who surrounds you. Because, for example, I had this woman that I know, I ran into her somewhere and she said, oh, Jennifer, you've got to meet this new woman that I just met. She just moved into town. She's loves to travel. She's eccentric. She's all these wonderful things. You'll love her. And by the way, her husband's totally blind. So anyways, I was like, hold on, back up. He's totally blind and they just moved into the area. And so that's a red flag for me because that usually means they're not getting any services. Or that they've never gotten any services ever. And so
God, it sounds
I
so much
said,
like the prison world.
Yeah. And so I said, back up and tell me about him. How long's he been blind? Oh, it's just recent. Oh, okay. Has he gotten any training with CVI and BAB?
Who's
I don't
that?
think so. Yeah, exactly. I don't think so. And then I said, okay, well, but he's fine. He's fine. She tells me. This is what everybody tells me.
Right.
They're fine.
Right.
And I said, okay, well, what does he do all day? He sits in front of the television and listens to the television. That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, does he use his cell phone? Does he email? Does he, go online and Google and stuff like that? Oh, no. He just listens to the TV all day. Does he listen to books on tape? No, I don't even think he knows about that. Okay. All right. Well, so maybe I'm thinking maybe this guy is, he doesn't have, like a high mental capacity maybe. So I said, okay, if he's okay with that, if he's fine, what did he do before he became visually impaired? What's his education level? What was his job? Oh, he's a PhD.
Oof. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so you've got somebody who's got a pretty powerful mind sitting in front of a television, listening to it.
Yeah. I feel like dumbed down.
Yeah. And I said, we need to get this guy some services. We need to make sure he gets the books on tape so he can listen to books because the Library of Congress does that for free. We need to make sure that he gets, has he had cane training? Can he maneuver? Does he have an iPhone? So that he can communicate? Does he have an iPad so that he can email? And if he wants to do social media, he can do social media. Does he have all this? Oh, no. He's fine. I was like, okay, well, is he traveling with his wife? No, she travels now without him. And so this is
tons of red flags.
This is the world, though, that most visually impaired people live in.
Right.
The sighted people around them are making the decisions for them that they're fine.
Right.
And they did that a lot to me, too. It was, why don't you move in with your mom? Why don't you go move in with your brother who has a big house and a fully finished basement? Go live in his basement. Okay, and do what? He lives in the country.
It's like going to a nursing home or something.
Yeah. And it's like, how can you go out on your own? Why do you want to do that? Why don't you just stay at home and, this, that, and the other? And, so that was what I was surrounded by. And that's what most people are surrounded by. And a lot of people don't have the spark inside them to say, no, this is not going to work for me.
Because they already feel
defeated.
And now it's like, you don't want to make people feel more uncomfortable around
Right.
you, I would imagine. So
Yes.
it's like you just kind of just
Yes.
fit into the groove that they put you in and sit there.
A lot of people do that. They're worried about upsetting the people around them.
Right.
Well, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, I don't want to make
Right.
them, but they're not concerned about hurting your feelings. They're not concerned about making you uncomfortable. They're not concerned about just hiding you away like there's something wrong with you.
So do you guys, I would imagine it's at some point the individuals like yourself going through it have to realize that you have to hold yourself accountable and be willing to say something regardless how the other person's going to take it or feel.
Exactly.
It's not like you're doing it to hurt them. You're saying, hey,
Right.
I don't want to be a fucking dog and sit on the couch all day
That's
long.
right.
I want to go live a life.
That's right.
And if you're not going to help me, then, let's get a divorce, which is what you did.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. You're not going to drag me down. You're not going to make my home unhappy.
Right.
And
now, can you also say, okay, I understand that this life isn't for you and
Mhm.
and it's not your thing, but
Mhm.
but that just, or is it more of you're a bad person because, like if somebody like if I got married or if Shelly all of a sudden tomorrow became blind.
Yeah.
And I've never known her like that. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't know if I can deal with this. Is that like a normal thing if it's communicated properly?
Yeah, it is. Hold on. I got to get a tissue because
my
allergies are so bad.
I'm
Sorry.
You want a paper towel?
Yeah, that'd be even easier. So my allergies are so bad. Sorry.
There you go.
Thank you so much. But yes, that's true in all, I think, areas of life, that not everybody's with you for a lifetime. They're with you for a season, and everyone serves their purpose. And I don't regret, my first husband at all. I think it was totally meant to be. I think our experience was supposed to happen exactly the way it was. And then we were supposed to go our separate ways. One of the things that he didn't like was that I needed to move to an area that would support me as a visually impaired person, which meant I needed to move into downtown. He didn't want to sell our house. He loved our house.
You guys lived here in Melbourne?
And yes, well, we were in Palm Bay at the time.
Okay.
And he didn't want to sell the house and move into downtown. And so that was, he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, okay, well, if I can do that, if I can move into downtown, I can work. Also, when you're at work for 12 hours, I can go out and live a life.
Right.
I can get on the bus and go to the beach. I can do all these different things and have a life that I can't have right now. And he was not willing to do it. So, I don't think that was asking too much, because
Right.
I believe that,
You think he was looking for a way out at some point?
I do. Yeah. And that's okay. I gave it to him. I mean, and he,
Right.
bless him, and, so the thing is like, we have to, if you want to really love the person and be with the person, then stuff doesn't matter. Stuff like houses and stuff are only a means to an end. Did I say that right? so,
Point taken.
yes. So, like the house serves you. So how does it serve me? And that house was no longer serving me. It was in an area that I that was not helpful to me.
Right.
So I needed to move into an area that was going to serve me. And so a lot of people they're not willing to do that. And they're not willing to, like some friends, when we went out, especially when I had my white cane, people stare at you. And people will come up and say nasty things like that girl at the concert did. You've got to be willing to take that. And a lot of people can't take conflict. A lot of people aren't willing to, like, especially if I go out with my guide dog. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's not so bad now, but in the beginning it was. Most everybody around here knows me now, so I don't have any problems. But in the beginning there was conflict left and right, and people couldn't handle it, and so you got to be willing to face that, and not everybody is. So yeah, I mean, relationships don't always last.
What about levels of, and maybe you experienced it too, was there ever like suicidal thoughts?
Yes.
When you were early on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's what actually got me the care and the services that I needed. It had been like a year, and that was it. I mean, my husband was having an affair. He was leaving me and my stepdaughter at home for, he disappeared one time for 26 hours, and we had no food in the house, and just all kinds of, and my friends, a lot of the friends had abandoned me, and it was bad. And I was going up and down through the stages of grief. And I was like, this is it. I'm becoming suicidal. And so I called my mom, and I said, something's got to give. Something's got to give. I can't do this. I can't do it anymore. And so she called my dad, which I don't know why my dad never thought about this. He was a member of the Lions Club. And he said, call the Lions Club and I don't know why I didn't think about this, but call the Lions Club up in Brevard County. So we called the Lions Club, and they told us about BAB and CVI. And so that's how I found the services. And that's when everything changed.
So service was here the whole time.
Here the whole time. Never knew about it. I didn't look in the right place.
Wow.
I didn't ask the right questions.
Because you would seem like your community would manifest almost immediately when you go through what you're going through.
Yeah.
But I guess
Well, I think that happened because that happened to me, I stepped into a different role in my life once I got my feet grounded.
Right.
So I started working with CVI and doing fundraising and doing awareness campaigns, and that's how my public speaking got started. And then they asked me to be on the board, so I was on the board of directors and just doing a lot of raising of awareness and basically telling everybody, going to all the doctor's offices and talking to them, you've got to, if you have somebody, if they lose their driver's license because their vision is so bad they can't drive anymore, they're legally blind. They need to be signed up for services immediately, and you've got to do it because they're going to go home and their person in their home they're going to go, oh, you're fine, you don't need it.
Right.
No, you've got to do it. And they're defeated now. They've just lost their driver's license. They're scared. Send them that information or sign them up for it. All you got to do is send in an application and get them signed up. And so I did that for like 5 years, nonstop, just trying to get the awareness out there because I didn't want anybody to suffer the way I suffered. And probably if I hadn't had that year of suffering, I never would have done that. So that changed my trajectory because of that.
There's some pain you needed to go through.
Yep.
So before we wrap up here, first off, for somebody because not everybody that's watching this is in Florida or Melbourne, somebody that might be, impaired, blind, deaf, or even if it's not to the point where they're like reaching up their hands because they can't see a foot in front of their face, but like you said, maybe they just have their license taken away from them. Is there a website that they can go to on a national level that can kind of point them into more into local areas where they can get help? Or
so I believe that there's Division of Blind Services in every state. So I would Google Division of Blind Services. Also, the Lions Club is all over the United States. Call your local Lions Club and they will guide you in the right direction. Then also the National Federation of the Blind. I called them about a couple of things, but I would think that they would be able to help direct you into local services in the area, but they're national. There's another organization too, and I can't remember what it's called. But
I imagine if people do some researching and start searching for it, there's groups out there, right?
Right. And so most people lose their vision kind of gradually. There are quite a few people out there who say are in a motorcycle wreck and lose their vision, or in an accident or something like that. If you're starting to lose your vision, start now. Start now looking for services. Start now. Get your iPhone, get an iPad, start getting familiar with
Is there a level of a deniability where they don't want to admit that it's happening?
Oh yeah.
They fight it.
And then you're not doing yourself any good. So just go ahead and obviously stay positive that you're going to do everything you can to prevent it.
Right.
But be wise and prepare. Come as you prepare for everything else in life, right? That's what we should be doing.
Preparation is key.
That's right. So go ahead and just getting used to the accessibility options on your Apple products, because the Apple creates everything. Everything is in their products for a visually impaired person. You don't have to get anything else other than unless you want a specific app like Blind Square or something.
Garrett hates this part of the conversation.
Oh, you hate Apple?
See, Garrett, Microsoft, garbage.
I mean, I don't hate Apple. Apple's fine. Just Macs.
Yeah, I hear you. But no, you can have an Android and you can have others, but you have to get different programs as far as I know.
Right.
I just know that Apple
kind of syncs
puts
it all.
everything in there. Yeah. And then they have an accessibility line that you can call anytime and they'll talk to you and talk you through anything, anytime. So I just know that Apple is the easiest and best in my experience. So, but start now. Start familiarizing yourself.
Because the learning curve, right?
It is. And once the worse your vision gets, especially if it's going downhill, it's going to get a lot harder.
Wow.
And you're going to be you're going to be climbing uphill for a long time. And I'm still climbing uphill. The thought of I'm thinking about getting an Apple Watch, but I would have to learn how to master voiceover. So I don't use voiceover on my phone unless I'm reading a website or unless I'm using an app like Blind Square or something, because it's hard to use and it's another learning curve. And I'm resisting that watch because I'm like, oh my God, I got to learn voiceover. So it's like,
do any of your friends with you, the one, because you seem pretty chill. Do they ever find your sense of humor about it and tease you and I don't want to use the word I don't want to use the word prank because that sounds horrible, but do they ever like josh you a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because you can tell the difference between somebody who's having fun and somebody who's mean.
Right.
And it was funny because my teacher in massage school, he had a real dry sense of humor. And so he tried some blind jokes on me, and I have a very good sense of humor. And so we were laughing and cutting up the whole time. And he would do a blind joke in the middle of class. And I mean, class, the other students were mortified. And I'm over there just laughing my ass off, you know. And we actually talked about that in graduation. And yeah, I have a good sense of humor. And as long as you're, being
Yeah,
cool.
the intent.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the intent behind it. Yeah, definitely. Because I'm going to cut up with you about what's up with you. So
You better be able to take it back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So like right now, if I were to hold up my fingers, could you see how many fingers I was holding up?
I don't know. Try
Let's see.
2.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
And so what worked for me is you brought your light hand out in front of your dark background.
So
do it in front of your shirt. Your shirt's light.
No.
Mm-mm.
That was one finger.
Yeah.
It wasn't the middle finger.
No, I've had people do that before. Or I've had, oh my God, I was in the hospital one time and the nurse comes in. I'm like, I'm visually impaired. And he's like, oh, really? How many fingers am I holding up? And I said, how many am I holding up?
Yeah.
And
like he didn't believe you?
Like,
or he was just.
No, he was being an ass.
Okay.
He was being an ass. And I said, are you an ophthalmologist? I mean, what is that going to tell you? And I'm
you
like,
must be
no,
a proctologist.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, Jennifer, how's the best way for people to reach you? If they want some advice on how to, survive.
Yeah.
And people to reach you that maybe are interested in your services that are here local.
So my website, Inner Sight Living. So inner, INNER, sight like seeing.
Garrett, can you type that into the notes? I mean, into the live chat, and then we'll add it into the description. So anybody that's watching this video, once it's done, we'll add this to the description as well. So go ahead. Tell
innersightliving.com. Or I'm on Facebook or Instagram under Inner Sight Living or Jennifer Cleveland. Yeah. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, I really appreciate you coming on here. We do a lot of interviews with different people, and this one, after meeting you, you just had such a good attitude about everything.
Thank you.
And like you carry yourself better than a lot of completely paired people. So congratulations to your journey, and I hope you keep going.
Thank you. And you too. Thank you so much.
I'm reaching out to shake your hand now, if you can see it. There we go.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you so much.